Law enforcement is designed to lend a helping hand to the community. It takes a collective effort to ensure public safety. Grand Forks County Sheriff Bob Ross and aviation professor Alan Frazier joined forces to use unmanned aircrafts to accomplish this goal. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, just to start it off, how did this teamwork begin?
Well, you know, it's probably 2.5 years ago. Al Frazier, who is here at the University of North Dakota, approached then Sheriff Dan Hill and talked about UAS aircraft, and he wanted to do a demonstration for us out at the Health and Wellness Center. So we came out and looked at it, and to see how an aircraft like that could help law enforcement. And it was very interesting. You know, you've got pilots that pilot the aircraft. You've got another person that runs the camera, and you know, it's very specific as to, you know, what it can do, and it would really aid law enforcement a lot, you know, being able to use it.
Mm-hmm. So Al, why this type of aircraft?
Well, we actually have a couple of aircraft. This particular one that we brought today is very maneuverable. We're able to stay in one place for quite a while. It's very affordable, and that's the thing I think that makes it very interesting to small law enforcement agencies is rather than a manned unit that's very expensive to run, it can be operated very inexpensively, both by purchase costs and training costs of the personnel that are going to be operating it.
Mm-hmm. So, Sheriff, why did you want to get the Grand Forks Police Department involved?
Well, the Sheriff's Department wants to be involved in it because it would be a tool for law enforcement to aid us in doing our job better. You know, when it comes to natural disasters, when it comes to looking for missing persons, when it comes to hazardous material spills, an aircraft like this would be very important because you're not jeopardizing human life by using this to go into a scene or to look for something. It's unmanned, and especially in a chemical situation, you can ascertain what the chemical is because sometimes, you know, it is a distance away, and by sending a human in there to do it, you're jeopardizing his life, and the aircraft would be okay with this. So and we could, you know, look off the placard or whatever and see exactly what type of chemical we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of a question that's a bit more technical, how does this thing work?
Well, it has 6 motors on it, and it's running 6 small rotor blades, and the pilot is actually utilizing a hand controller with a couple of small toggles, and it's as he moves those toggles, it's changing the velocity of those rotors, and each of the rotors is powered by a little small brushless electric motor. So it's really it's very similar to a remote control aircraft that you know, young people might utilize as a hobby type of tool. Just what we've done is put a camera on it and a little more sophisticated systems, but not much. It's pretty much an RC controlled aircraft that you'd control from a hand controller.
Well, as we can see, we can show some clips from that video, but we notice it's very small. So is that the average size for an unmanned aircraft, and really does size matter?
Well, size does matter as far as the effectiveness is concerned and the type of mission. When we talk about small unmanned aircraft, what we see before us here and on the clip that your viewers are going to be looking at, that's pretty consistent for the size, about 36 inches from one rotor to the other. Of course, unmanned aircraft is such a broad term. It includes everything from large military platforms that the Department of Defense is using to these small aircraft that we would use in local law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. So what is the range of this aircraft? How far can it travel?
This one can go out to about 5 kilometers, so it's very close, and our authorization from the Federal Aviation Administration requires that we keep it within visual sight of the operator. So we found that to be about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. After that, because of its size, it becomes difficult for us to be able to keep visual sight on it. So I would say 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile.
All right. Well, we actually have a question from one of our viewers on Facebook from Isabel from Maine, and she asked, does the UAS fly at an altitude that's seen to those on the ground?
Definitely these do. And again, it's not necessarily the technical capabilities of the aircraft, but the restrictions that have been placed on us by the Federal Aviation Administration. So the highest that we can fly this aircraft is 400 feet, and so that would be easily visible to someone on the ground.
So Sheriff, who decides how the aircraft is used?
Well, it would be a matter of, an incident. And we have a review board right now at the University of North Dakota, research and compliance. And this board is made up of people from the university, private citizens. We have attorneys on both sides, and we look at various issues that can come up. Like, for instance, missing children. There are certain things guidelines that are put out by this research committee. And once they approve it, then we can utilize the aircraft for that procedure. And if I'm not mistaken, we can do 4 different ones right now we're authorized to do. And hazardous materials, lost children,
crime and accident scene.
Yeah, crime and accident scene.
And searching for major crime suspects.
Okay. And one last question, really, what do you hope to accomplish through this aircraft, trying to implement that with police departments? What's the goal of it?
Well, there's 2 components, of course. The research component of it is we're trying to develop a concept of operations that we could pass on to other public safety agencies, really telling them what we have found the aircraft could be useful for, but equally important, what it can't do very well. And then we're also developing a training program for both UAS pilots and the sensor system operators. So that would be the first part. The second part, the sheriff is involved in, and that is because the research is a collaboration with the Sheriff's Department, we're able to provide the resource to not only the Sheriff's Department, but through mutual aid, any public safety agency in northeastern North Dakota. So there's actually a 16-county area that we can fly within.
All right. Well, again, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being on the show today. We greatly appreciate it. We get to see some of this nice viewers. But yeah, thank you so much.